Today we're going over my full April budget and my real numbers.
I try sharing my story to remind readers that there is a way out. That with hard work, dedication, determination, motivation, it's all about having a plan for your money. And that's what gives you the true control.
Holy crap, it just changed my life. They're like, oh man, Nico, it takes time, it takes dedication, it takes work.
But no more credit card debt.
Welcome to the Budget Mom YouTube channel. Today we are doing a full budget overview for my budget in April. Now I am currently budgeting my money every single time I'm paid, and for over 9 years that was on the 5th and the 20th. I used to get paid twice a month. I am now only getting paid once a month. I have left my full-time job and I am working for my business full-time, and that means I get one paycheck a month and it happens on the first of the month. So that means that I went from pulling money or cash out from my cash envelopes twice a month to now only pulling out cash from my envelopes one time a month. Last month was my first month doing that way, and I was a little bit scared that I was not going to pace myself with my spending and I was going to run out of my cash too quickly, but it worked out perfectly. In fact, I was able to save over $333 in the month of March from my cash envelopes simply by challenging myself to save more. And part of that was the March Savings Challenge of $20 Fridays, where I challenged me and myself and my readers to save $20 from their cash envelopes every single Friday. And a lot of the time it has to do, I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to save as much as when I was pulling out cash twice a month, but it really worked out just about the same, especially since I was aware of my spending choices. Today we're going to be going over, like I said, my full budget, but we're also doing something really exciting. I just launched my new Budget by Paycheck workbook. I'm offering a new shipped version as well as a digital download. Today you're going to be looking at the actual physical edition of the new Budget by Paycheck workbook, and I'll put a link to that new product underneath in the description of this video. So we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. We're going to be talking about my budget calendar, my paycheck bill tracker, which is essentially my budget, and I'm going to be stuffing my cash envelopes all in just a second. So let me show you what I have going on for my April 1st budget. Today we're going to be going over my full April budget, and this is going to cover the entire month. So we're going to be doing a lot. We're going to be talking about my monthly budget calendar, the cash that I pulled out from my cash envelopes, as well as April Savings Challenge. So with my April monthly budget calendar, I like to write down when I'm paid and what bills I'm going to pay with this paycheck. Now I'm still in the habit of doing this just because I was so used to getting paid twice a month and determining what expenses I was going to pay with each paycheck. My paycheck on the 1st now covers all of the bills for the entire month because I now get paid once a month. But I also make sure to include any holidays or any appointments, whether it's a hair appointment or a lash appointment or something like that, doctor's appointment. Anything that needs to be included in my budget for the month of April is put on my monthly budget calendar. It's a great reminder, but not only that, if you get paid multiple times a month, like I used to, some people get paid weekly, it's great for planning out your budget or your income in advance. So it's a great way to say, okay, I get paid on the 1st and the 10th and the 23rd and the 30th. What expenses do I have to pay, and what paycheck do I want to use to pay those expenses? It's creating that plan for your money before you actually receive it. Now, when you're budgeting your income, I always like to say to budget for the worst case scenario, the least amount you think you're going to receive. That way, if you have more income than what you expected, you can decide what to do with it at that time. So this is my monthly budget calendar. For April, we are doing the $10 cash envelope savings challenge, and I'll be going over that once we get to my cash envelopes. This is what my budget looks like. I use what's called a paycheck bill tracker. I use this to map out any income that I receive for the month. So it may not be just strictly my work income. It could be a bonus or something like that. But it helps me lay out and create a plan for every dollar. For my April budget, I am getting paid with a couple of different sources.
I have my business income, which is a little over $4,000, and that's for the entire month. I also receive $500 from my boyfriend Chris, who reimburses me for the bills that I pay. So we split our bills in half. We do our finances separately. He gives me the cash and I add it to my income for the month. So all of these are bills that I have to pay. These are fixed expenses or monthly bills that I have to pay. So I have my normal ones like my rent, my phone bill. I do have a car wash subscription. I do have some things in my budget. Now I am debt free. So there are some things in my budget that aren't necessities or aren't necessary, but I can afford to include them in my budget and I choose to do that. So a couple of those things are Hulu and Spotify. Now, I do have 2 times a month, I have savings that gets pulled out of my checking account and it goes into my individual investment account. I do $50 on the 11th and I do it again on the 25th. I also contribute to my son's 529 college savings plan. I do $100 a month for that. Now, when I was paying off debt, I was contributing to my son's 529 plan by using and saving all of my spare change throughout the year. Because I'm an all cash spender, I get a lot of change throughout the year, so I would save it throughout the entire year and make a one-time savings contribution to my son's college fund. Now that I'm debt free, I kind of wanted to make that a little bit more of a priority, so I'm now doing $100 a month on the 15th. I have my dental insurance. Avista is my utilities. Now I'm budgeting really high for my utilities because I was paying this back when this amount when we were in really cold winter months. So I am expecting it to go down, but I have Netflix, my life insurance, daycare. We are very fortunate. Grandma watches my son on the days that I have a really busy workload or I can't watch him, and we reimburse her for food and gas costs. So only $100 for that. I do have a gym membership, Comcast, medical insurance, and then I also have a cushion that I do $80 a month. So my cushion is my checking account buffer. Because I'm an all cash spender and I utilize what's called a zero-based budget, which means that all of my income has a plan or is being spent somewhere in my budget, that essentially means that basically if I'm planning to spend all my money, my checking account will eventually go down to $0 every month because I have a plan to spend everything. I did not feel comfortable when I first started using a zero-based budget doing that. So I created a checking account buffer or cushion. I like to keep $1,000 in my checking account at all times. And there are some months where I do use it. Maybe a bill is higher than expected. Maybe I do an unexpected or unplanned shopping online. You know, you have to use your debit card. And so it helps from overdraft fees as well. Not bringing your account so low to where there is an opportunity for you to get overdraft fees, it's huge. My cushion has saved me so much in the past. So I do $80 a month. I just let it grow. Now, if it gets too big and I start to feel uncomfortable with how big or too much in my checking account, I feel like the dollars could be used better maybe in an investment account or an online savings account where it can yield a little bit higher interest, then I'll move it at that time. But usually I do use about $80 every month as part of my cushion, so I just like to replenish that every month. So after paying all of my bills, now I pay these bills online, all my bills equal $2,445. If I subtract that from my income, I'm left with $2,087. Now these blue dots that you see along the side are things that get paid or pulled out of my checking account automatically. And I like to know what bills those are so I know when I have to go in and pay a bill manually. And so I pay all these online, but some of them and most of them are set up on auto pay. It's just so I don't have to worry about them. I know the money's going to be in there because I am budgeting for it. So after my fixed expenses or my monthly bills are paid, I have $2,087 left. I use part of that for my variable spending, which is my cash envelopes. I currently use 6 cash envelopes. I have gas, beauty, miscellaneous, household, fun, and food. What categories you use for your cash envelopes, it should really be categories that you have a hard time with overspending. Having cash envelopes makes your budget tangible. It makes it really easy to see exactly how much you have to spend at any given time. It's in your face. You have it in your hands. It's cash, and it's helped me tremendously. So for groceries, I do $400 a month. Fun is $100. Gas is $150. Beauty is $165. Miscellaneous is $100, and my household is $80. Now, if you're wondering what I spend money on in these categories, I'll put a link in the description of this video going over how I break down my categories and how I spend that money. So after my cash envelopes, all of my cash envelopes equal $995. If I subtract that from the money I have left over, I'm left with $1,092. This is where a lot of people ask themselves, where did my money go? Once their major bills are paid, your fixed expenses, it's like when I ask you, how much money did you spend on clothing costs, food costs, gas costs, those types of, really it's hard if you're not tracking it to really know how much you're spending in your variable categories, because it's just swipe a card. It makes it so easy where you don't really have to keep track. It's just so easy to swipe your card. So once my variable spending is taken care of, I know I'm fully covered for the month. My bills are done, and I have money for spending throughout the month. If you have money left over at this point, you need to decide where your financial priorities are. For me, I don't have debt, but if I did have debt, I might decide to throw all this extra income into my extra debt area right here on my budget sheet. For me, it's savings. So I save in sinking funds. Now, sinking funds is literally just saving a little bit every single month for a specific goal or purpose, so you have cash available when that expense comes up. For me, a lot of the time that includes holidays and events. I do have some things that are more of I do an online transfer, but one of the things that I decided not to include in this budget this time is my car maintenance fund. Now, I usually do about $40 every month to my car maintenance fund, but I'm going to do a full $80 in May. So I decided not to include it on this Paycheck bill tracker. So I'm currently saving for 4th of July, my boyfriend's birthday, my son's birthday, Christmas, back to school, Valentine's Day, and Easter. And so Easter is not usually a sinking fund. I put it here because I'm cash flowing Easter, which means I'm covering the whole cost of what I'm going to spend on Easter with my paycheck, rather than saving a little bit every month. But I'm setting aside $50 for Easter. That's why I decided not to include my car maintenance fund. And I'm pushing it over into next month. So all of my sinking funds equal $289. If I subtract that from the income I have left over, I'm left with $803. And because I don't have debt, I had to ask myself, what is the number one thing that I'm saving for? What is the most important thing in my life right now that I really want to obtain? And for me, that's my house savings. I'm currently on a savings goal to buy my first house with cash. It's a $400,000 goal, so anything extra that I have is going towards that goal. So that's how I break down and manage my money. I pay my bills online. I pull out cash from my cash envelopes, cash out for my sinking funds. Now, for my sinking funds, I'll show you what those look like right now. This is what my sinking funds look like. For my holidays and events, I save in these cash envelopes. So when I go to the bank and I pull out cash from my envelopes and I give them a teller slip that looks like this, it includes the cash that I'm pulling out for my sinking funds as well. So I use what's called a cash envelope breakdown, and essentially it's you write down all the cash envelopes you're pulling cash out for. For me, that includes my regular bills as well as my cash sinking funds envelopes. So all of my cash envelopes plus my sinking funds here that I'm pulling out equal $1,194. I use a cash envelope breakdown to tell me and to make it very easy what bill denominations do I need for each cash envelope. And then I hand the teller this little slip. And it's great, especially if you're working with really odd numbers. Like my sinking funds are determined by my goal amount and how many months I have to save. I take my goal amount and divide it by the number of months I have to save. And sometimes that gives me a really weird, like Christmas is $73 a month. But if I just went to the bank and pulled out random bill denominations, I might not get $3. And so this helps you organize how you get that cash back. So if we go back to my budget, you can see that most all of these, actually now I'm looking at all of these except for Easter, and as you can see, I didn't include Easter on here. I'm going to leave the $50 in my checking account, and I will pull that money out either the day of, or I will use my debit card on that day. But I have a feeling I'm not going to need it, so that's why I decided to leave it in my checking account. Most of the time though, I would have pulled out the $50 in cash as well. But so we went over the cash envelope breakdown. Now the first thing that I do is I get out all of the cash that I got out from the bank, and I get my envelopes out. So I just start stuffing them one by one. So the first one is food. I need $400. Now I fill my envelopes by the biggest bills. So I got 4 $100 bills. It's a lot harder to hand someone a large bill than it is a small bill. So I've decided to pull out my cash envelopes with the largest bill denomination first. So fun is $100. So that's just $100 like this. So that envelope has been stuffed. Gas is $150, so I pull out 1 and a 50. Beauty is $165. So 150, 65. The one exception that I do have when it comes to pulling out bigger bills versus smaller bills is my miscellaneous envelope. Sometimes you go to some places and they say they won't break 100. So I like to have some smaller bills on me just in case, and that's where my miscellaneous comes in. So I want to do $100. So as you can see, I'm doing 520s. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. And my household is $80, and I'm doing a 50, 60, 70, and 80. So all of my regular cash envelopes have now been stuffed. All 6 envelopes are ready to go. Now I'm going to fill my sinking funds. So for 4th of July, I'm doing $17. So 4th of July. For my boyfriend's birthday, I do $34 a month. For my son's birthday, I do $29. Now, I have only one birthday envelope where I keep all of my cash for all birthdays. As you can see, it's pretty full. So I just use that. Christmas is $73. Back to school is $32. Now, if I do this right, and you know you did it right, if you have exactly what you need left for your last cash envelope. So I have $14 for Valentine's Day, which I do. So I know that I filled all of my envelopes correctly. Now the next thing that I would do, and let me show you very quickly,
And as you can see in the new Budget by Paycheck workbook, here are your teller slips where you can cut out from your workbook and bring with you. I want to show you very quickly though, on my sinking funds, if you're wondering about how I track that. So this is how I determine my sinking funds. I write down my goals, what I want for each goal, and the due date. Now my events have due dates because I have holidays. And you take how many months you have to save and it gives you a monthly amount. Now if you get paid multiple times every single month, maybe you cut these monthly amounts into two. You're splitting it between paychecks, which makes it really doable and manageable. But I will be ending up later on today, I will be tracking, here's April, I like to track my sinking funds savings, how much I put in, and if I use a sinking envelopes, because then it tells me I need to start saving for that again. But I also keep track of my sinking funds in a visual way, where I am at all times with all of my sinking funds and how much further I have to go. This is a great visual to let me know exactly where I am with my savings goals. And as you can see, this one's for 2019, but I've already started saving for Valentine's Day in 2020 just because it falls really early in the year. I used the money in February of this year and now I'm starting to save for it again. This is also in the back is where I track my house savings goal. This is my $400,000 goal. I am ready to count. I will be able to probably color in a couple more lines on my savings tracker. So that is my full budget overview. We filled my sinking funds. We filled my normal variable cash envelopes, and we went over April's savings challenge. If you have any questions, please you can head over to my private Facebook community, TBM Family. There's a lot of really supportive women over there, and I'm in there answering questions as well. If you found this video helpful,